Son of Sam, the serial killer who terrorized New York High. I'm Sean. In the summer of 1976, New York City was bustling with life. People filled the streets. The lights sparkled at night. But beneath the surface, there was something sinister lurking in the shadows. The city was living under the threat of a serial killer, whose identity remained a mystery. That night, two young women sat in their car on the side of a quiet street. The car was parked in a secluded area, far from the eyes of anyone. They were chatting and enjoying a peaceful moment, when suddenly a man appeared from the darkness. Before either of them could react or escape, he raised a gun and fired 3 shots directly at them. Bang! 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 It was over in an instant. The killer fled quickly, disappearing into the night as if he was never there. What made the situation even more chilling wasn't just the murder itself. It was what happened next. The following morning, the police received their first letter from the killer. It was a strange, unsettling message, written in an unstable hand, filled with misspellings and cryptic words. The killer was bragging about the crime and threatening to kill more people. In the letter, he wrote, "I am the son of Sam. I kill by the devil's command." That letter marked the beginning of a terrifying wave of fear throughout the city. The police were now dealing with a serial killer, a man who seemed to take pleasure in taunting them. Not only did he kill, but he also left behind messages, playing with the media and the police at every turn. In the following months, the killer continued his spree. His victims were often targeted in pairs, typically young couples sitting in their cars. The pattern was eerily similar each time: a .44 caliber revolver, silence before the attack, and then a swift disappearance. In some cases, he would fire from such close range that his victims had no chance to defend themselves. There were other victims, like Stephen, who was sitting in his car with his girlfriend when the killer approached. After shooting them both, the killer disappeared as quickly as he had appeared, leaving the police with more questions and fewer answers. At the same time, the killer continued to send more letters to the press. He boasted about his plans to kill more people, and in some of his messages, he accused the devil of instructing him to commit these crimes. The letters were full of strange symbols, designed to confuse and mislead investigators. They seemed to be part of some twisted game that the killer was playing, taunting both the police and the public. The city was gripped by constant fear. Families were afraid to go outside. Public gatherings became rare, and people in New York City felt as though they were being watched by someone in the shadows. The son of Sam was everywhere and nowhere at the same time, lurking just out of sight. Then came the mistake. On August 10, 1977, in the Brooklyn neighborhood where one of the recent murders took place, a woman was walking down the sidewalk when she noticed a strange man writing something on a piece of paper. He kept looking around, almost nervously, and then vanished into the darkness. She didn't think much of it at first, but later, after hearing about the shooting in the same neighborhood, she connected the two events in her mind. A few days later, the woman received a traffic ticket for her car. That ticket, the seemingly innocent mistake, became the first clue that would lead police straight to the killer. It turned out that the license plate number of the car she had seen belonged to a man named David Berkowitz. This revelation was a shock to the police, as they had never heard of David before, and he seemed like just another regular guy. Then came the mistake. On August 10, 1977, in the Brooklyn neighborhood where one of the recent murders took place, a woman was walking down the sidewalk when she noticed a strange man writing something on a piece of paper. He kept looking around, almost nervously, and then vanished into the darkness. She didn't think much of it at first, but later, after hearing about the shooting in the same neighborhood, she connected the two events in her mind. A few days later, the woman received a traffic ticket for her car. That ticket, the seemingly innocent mistake, became the first clue that would lead police straight to the killer. It turned out that the license plate number of the car she had seen belonged to a man named David Berkowitz. This revelation was a shock to the police, as they had never heard of David before, and he seemed like just another regular guy. The police moved in quietly and approached the apartment with extreme caution. Even though they were growing more confident that they had the right person, they needed concrete evidence. They weren't willing to make a mistake now. As they entered the apartment, they found what would later be considered damning evidence of David's involvement in the murders. Inside, they discovered a .44 Bulldog revolver, the same weapon used in all the killings. Along with the gun were several letters that Berkowitz had sent to the press and police. The letters contained taunts and threats, written in his handwriting. There were also maps with markings indicating locations of past murders, further confirming that David was the killer. The moment of capture was dramatic. When police entered the apartment, David was sitting on a small couch, and he didn't resist. He remained eerily calm, as if he had been waiting for this moment. When one of the officers told him he was under arrest, David simply replied, "I've been waiting for you." Those words sent chills down everyone's spine. It was as if David knew this day would come, as if he was prepared to face the consequences of his actions. The initial investigation. Lies and confessions after David's arrest. The investigation began. At first, he tried to justify his actions with strange explanations. He claimed that he killed at the command of the devil, and that he was receiving orders through his neighbor's dog. These bizarre statements led some to question whether he was mentally unstable or just trying to confuse the investigators. However, as the interrogation continued, David eventually admitted to the murders. In his confessions, he acknowledged that he was fully aware of what he had done and that he had enjoyed the fear he had caused. His admission brought an end to the reign of terror that had gripped New York for over a year. David Berkowitz, the son of Sam, had been caught, and the city could finally breathe again. Thus ended one of the most chilling and notorious chapters in the history of serial killers in America. David Berkowitz, or Son of Sam, became one of the most infamous serial killers in U.S. history. His capture marked the end of a terror that had lasted far too long, and the mistake that led to his arrest, a simple traffic ticket, was something no one could have predicted. It was a twist of fate that finally put an end to the nightmare.